Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Forge. I'm DML and today we're going to be doing some field testing on the Bushmaster. Okay, so if you're part of my group and stuff, you would have seen me do some real quick sort of initial testing on this, but today we're going to go a little bit hardcore with it, okay? Closer to my usual testing, okay? Now, in my previous video, oh no, we won't skip it, we'll go through it. So it comes with a Chakmak. It's beautifully forged, bottle opener, all that stuff. Does throw sparks with a stone, have checked it. A beautiful carder. Now this this is incredible. It's only about 2 mil thick to begin with. It's got a high zero convex grind, sharp as hell. Beautiful distal taper, bit of knurling on the handle as well up towards the top, just so you don't lose grip in case, I don't know, you're processing. All right, whether it be food or otherwise. Very comfortable in the hand. Even if you have larger hands, the idea is that it sort of tapers off here, so as long as you've got like 2-3 fingers on it, it's just comfy. It's just comfy, and the curvature goes straight into your palm. All right. And then you got your little step in there so you can do your carving and stuff, and it'll help guide your edge onto the wood for carving tasks. And then we've got the Khukuri, all right? And the Khukuri is beautiful, twin fullers and brass inlay in the blade. Somehow that hasn't come out yet. We'll see what happens today. It's got a brass lined bolster, which I've never seen before. So it's a plate of brass, then the bolster, then another plate of brass. Beautiful. Wooden handle, knurled center ring. Again, for control, edge alignment, and grip. A lanyard hole for if you're choking up, which you shouldn't need to do with this because you've got your carder, which does all that. And also for security so you don't lose it when you're swinging it, which isn't really going to be a huge problem unless you're pretty fatigued because you've got the big swell, and then you've got my keeper plate on the back. All right, so today we're going to do some testing on a bit of pine, pretty soft, then something small but hard, and then something large and hard, being eucalypt. All right, so not going to waffle on anymore. We're just going to start with just sort of like some light limbing and stuff and see how it performs, because the edge geometry on this is relatively obtuse because it is a heavy use Khukuri. It's meant to do this kind of stuff all day, and it's meant to do the big heavy thing pretty often. So it's not going to be like a fine edge slicer like say a Pyron. A Pyron can do the big heavy stuff too, but it gets stuck a little more. This won't bind anywhere near as much, and it'll just keep going. So it's sort of closer to a hatchet, but it's not gonna be too much issue, so I just take it off. It just won't cut as cleanly, that's all, and that doesn't bother me. If it's for firewood, then that doesn't matter at all, does it? Okay, just means it won't bite quite as deep, but you can adjust that yourself if that's what you want. If you want this exact blade but with a finer edge, you can just hit me up or Santosh, Shankar, he's the maker of this, and just go, hey dude, I want a Bushmaster but I want it to have a finer edge on the Khukuri, and he'll just be like, yeah dude, no worries. Alright, there you go. So you saw I did have a slight deflection there. That was my fault. I was hitting it too fine an angle, so it just wants to do that and slide off. You bring it up and it digs. That's what you're after. Alright, so small but hard, and just shear that thing off. There we go. So if you're looking for stuff that, you know, chops and splits, this is closer to the sort of Khukuri style you're after, whereas things like Rune, Pyron, Resilience, all those, they'll do it, but it'll bite deeper but stick more. This will stick less, but it won't bite quite as deep. But similar to an axe, you don't have to try as hard either, because this is heavier and more obtuse, and your point of balance is about, what's that, probably about 3.5 inches forward. So your dynamics are a little different. Going on to something big, all right? Now here I'm not gonna be like wailing on it either. I'm just gonna, as if I'm working all day, I'm just gonna drop the weight into it and let it chunk out. And I'm not death gripping it or anything, I'm just swinging it. There you go. All right. So the grip was very secure, but Santosh, if you're watching, I might just reduce the flare of that handle ring, because the knurling and stuff, I felt it sort of dig into that part of my hand, up that line there between my two fingers. So that's easy fix. I could do that myself. I'll do that myself with this one, unless someone wants to buy it after this testing, because then I'll just get or make another one. All right, and splitting. All right, so we'll just we'll put on this bad boy and split it as well. And I'm not worried about the tip on this one. It does not have a fine tip. There you go. Doesn't have a fine tip at all. I'll show you that in a second. The like I said, the edge is relatively obtuse. So I'll come up and show you real quick. So there's the tip. You can see there, it's pretty obtuse. That taper there, like you'd be able to dig with that. There's no point in me digging with it on this video because it's all mud, so I can, you know, it makes it look real easy because it's mud, flooding. Okay, we've had a lot of flooding. But on dry dirt, you're going to lose your edge, your cutting edge. But it doesn't matter because you don't need a cutting edge when the tip is that obtuse. You don't. So it splits, it does all that. If I choke up in here, it'll do your carving, like your feathers. So when I say the edge is obtuse, I don't mean that it's not going to cut. It'll cut. All right, it'll do that fine. What I'm saying is, you're better off using the tool that comes with it that has a fine edge that's actually made for it, you know, because I'm not even putting pressure on that. The edge is just grabbing that wood and just feathering it. And you can, instead of sort of planing the wood, it's actually carving. I mean, look how fine those things are. They're paper thin, you know. All right, and you know, you're not dealing with the weight, the balance, the effort of doing all that is quite easy. It's simple. It just cuts. All right. Love this thing. Love this thing too. This is good. My personal preference is a slightly finer edge. I don't mind digging my kukri out of larger wood overly much, because most of what I chop when I'm camping isn't really any thicker than this. This is probably about the thickest I chop with a kukri when I'm out camping. So if it's got a finer edge and it digs halfway in, I just got to pry it out once, and then the next cut's kind of snap it in half. That's why I prefer a finer edge on my kukri, but I can understand if you're chopping that sort of stuff all day, every day, yeah, you're gonna want something like this, because it requires less maintenance. The edge is gonna hold up longer. It's gonna chunk wood out rather than dig in and have to pry it out again. That kind of thing. Anyway, that's enough out of me. This is Bushmaster, all right? It's gonna be available on Sundog Forge once I put it up. And Santosh, again, if you're watching, mate, good work on this. this is good. For a heavy use kukri, you know, short, compact, has good chop to it. I believe we could make it a little lighter, and but otherwise, oh, and the handle ring. Make it a little lighter, and the handle ring not quite as flared. Otherwise, it's pretty much perfect, mate. So thank you very much. All right, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. And I'll be back with the next video when I can. Thank you.